So, I've talked about a man-eating crocodile, a post-apocalyptic world with giant bug monsters, so of course the natural progression is to talk about zombies next, obviously. And because Zack Snyder decided to make a zombie/heist movie, I just had to take a look. Who can say no to that? Also, as it's kinda Snyder's thing, this movie is of course 2 hours long, so I'm gonna waste no time and jump right in. Alright, the movie starts off with a military convoy that calls itself 4 Horsemen. That's not on the nose at all. Well, anyways, the convoy is traveling from Area 51 with an unknown cargo along the highway outside of Las Vegas.
Right. We're like, Bigfoot.
I was thinking more like headpiece of the staff of Ra, or Amelia Earhart, but alive.
Sir, I'll have you know that Amelia Earhart is doing just fine and having a great time with Ben Stiller at the museum.
What's the rumpus, Ace?
As they keep speculating about their mysterious cargo, they completely forget to watch the street in front of them, and they collide with a couple that was, well, preoccupied. Which results in several casualties in the convoy's cargo, which turns out to be a zombie. I know, I wasn't expecting it either. Escapes and easily takes out every soldier around him. As to be expected, the recently deceased soldiers stand back up and they all make their way to Las Vegas. And that's where the zombie takeover montage begins that's kinda in every movie. The only difference this time is that instead of only showing random people getting eaten, we actually get to see some of our main characters and how they manage to fight the dead and their way out of the infected city. We also see that the city has since been surrounded by a wall made of shipping containers and other sturdy things. Although, after I watched World War Z, I don't really believe this would help that much. Especially considering that some of the zombies in this movie are kinda superhuman strong and almost invincible. You'll see what I mean later. But yeah. We meet Scott Ward, one of the guys from the montage earlier, and after surviving Las Vegas, he started a glamorous job at a burger joint. He's approached by a man named Tanaka, who offers him $50 million to retrieve $200 million from his own casino's vault inside the heart of Las Vegas. And time is of the essence here, because the military plans to drop a nuclear bomb on the city in the next 2 days. But thanks to the prospect of money and Scott not having anything to lose, he accepts the offer. So Scott starts to assemble a team that consists of old pals like Maria Cruz and Vandero, a helicopter pilot called Peters, a German safecracker named Ludwig Dieter, and just a little tidbit as a German myself, that is the most German name I've ever heard in my life. It's basically the equivalent of naming an American guy Justin Jack. Another fun fact, Götterdämmerung loosely translates to Dawn of the Gods, which ties really nicely into the whole god metaphor with the zombies, and especially their leader later on, whose name is officially Zeus. Anyways, they also recruit Guzman, who also brings his associate Chambers with him. And lastly, Tanaka insists on having his bodyguard Martin join the team as well, since he is very familiar with the building and can grant them access to restricted areas. In believing that their crew is complete, Tanaka informs them of their plan. Which is pretty simple really. Go inside the zombie zone, go to casino, open vault, get the money, and get out by helicopter. Not sure why they needed the miniature view for that, but go ahead I guess. So everybody gets prepared for the next day. And Scott has a little talk with his estranged daughter, because they still need a way into the city and his daughter Kate works as a volunteer in the quarantine zone right outside Las Vegas. Well, if that isn't a lucky coincidence, almost like somebody made it up. Anyways, Scott asks Kate for help, who at first says no, but after being promised $50 million just for getting them past the wall, she obviously agrees. So the next day she drives the team to the now mostly evacuated quarantine zone and directs them to their local smuggler, Lily. And she's basically their personal tour guide and also makes sure to recruit a fellow camp security guard, who I've only called douchebag, but whose name is actually Cummings. Hehe. Everybody starts to gear up, but Kate suddenly realizes that her friend Gita is missing and figures out that Lily helped her get past the walls, but never returned. So Kate insists on joining the team as well in order to find and rescue her friend. Scott is against Kate's decision but can't do anything about it, cause children, am I right? So finally they go inside and it's actually not a lot going on.
There they are. The Shamblers. What's left of them.
What happened to them exactly?
What's it look like? Weren't smart enough to get out of the sun. You should see what happens when it rains. For a few hours, they all come back to life.
Oh, scheiße.
Oh scheisse indeed, cause we won't get to see any of that. However, they cross paths with Valentine. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but you got something on your face there. You know what, forget it, you can barely see it. Shortly after, Lily explains that they will have to make an offering to the alpha zombies in order to be granted safe passage. So she shoots Cummings in the leg. And as if the alphas knew exactly what was going on, they show up almost immediately.
What? No!
And after a while of sniffing, screaming, growling, and crouching, the queen takes Cummings with them and brings him to Zeus, their leader, who turns him into a fellow zombie. Also, in case it wasn't clear, this is the same zombie who started all of this in the first place. He just grew out his hair and got himself a girlfriend. Man, even zombies manage to find love. I must be doing something wrong. Oh, right, yes, I don't go outside. Mystery solved. Oh, and also turns out Zeus and his girlfriend are expecting as well. Now, I don't even want to know the logistics of that or how that could even work, so let's quickly check back with the others. They kept making their way towards the casino and ran into a horde of hibernating zombies, which is exactly what my mom says I look like when I'm sleeping. And just like me, it's also best to not wake them up from their slumber, cause that just makes them grumpy and more eager to kill you. In order to make it safely through the horde, they make a trail on the ground with glow sticks to not get lost between the zombies. And with great timing, Chambers decides to now vocalize her distrust towards Martin and accuses him of having ulterior motives. But thankfully Martin is very reasonable and has nothing to hide. Okay, I almost got you, right? Of course Martin makes sure Chambers gets lost between the zombies. Now, the following I call the most frustrating 15 minutes of my life. Let me show you why. So, Chambers gets sent off the trail, and obviously one after the other zombies keep waking up around her. And I was like, okay, so she'll die, of course. Predictable. And then the situation starts to escalate, Chambers starts to shoot around, and the rest of the group has to start fighting as well. You know, nothing out of the ordinary. But this woman just won't die. And then she actually almost makes it outside, but Martin locks the door before she can escape. And now I was really sure that she was dead and that it was over. But then out of nowhere, Chambers just busts through a glass window or something, still fighting and seemingly unharmed. And I think I fell in love with her a little right there and then, and started to think, oh, are they actually gonna do something cool here and let her live? I mean, I wouldn't be mad about that. That would be unexpected. But then all my hopes were immediately crushed because instead of helping her or something, they just blew her up. Like, what are you doing? Why do you listen to what he says? You didn't trust him 1 second ago. It's just so frustrating. So she dies, whatever, and the rest makes it to their destination, the casino. They decide to divide into 4 smaller groups, each with different responsibilities. Kate and Scott try to get the power generator started. Maria and Peters get all their fuel up to the helicopter. Lily and Martin are supposed to keep watch, and Dieter, Vanderhoo, and Guzman start to make their way to the vault. Now, notice how I said Lily and Martin are supposed to keep watch. Yeah, they ain't doing that, or at least that's not all they do. No, Martin, the smart guy that he is, decides to just casually trap the queen and decapitate her. No problem. I mean, it's not like she was pregnant, and also the girlfriend of the leader alpha zombie. And luckily we know Zeus is a reasonable and calm guy, so there's no way he would get angry and, I don't know, assemble an army of the dead, for example. No way that would happen. Huh, totally unexpected. Meanwhile, Germany, Grumpy, and Guzman were able to get past the non-lethal booby traps installed in front of the vault with some help from a few very nice zombies. So Dieter finally tries to open it. During that, the rest of the group learns that the government moved a nuclear strike on the city up, leaving them with approximately 90 minutes to finish up and get the fudge out of there. But luckily they picked a good German who manages to open the safe with no problems whatsoever. You know, at this point I was kinda expecting the vault to be empty, but it wasn't, and everybody starts packing. Besides Kate, who takes the opportunity to sneak out and look for her friend. Remember? That's why she accompanied them in the first place. Yeah, I forgot as well. Don't worry about it. Scott and Maria just decided to go after her as they get ambushed by some angry zombies. I wonder why they're upset. Anyways, Maria bites the dust. Scott, Guzman, Martin, and Lily make their way to an exit while Vanderhoof and Dieter stay behind to buy them some extra time. But surprisingly, Martin turns out to be a not so nice guy and locks the exit behind him, leaving the rest of the group behind with no way of escape. He also informs them that the whole mission has always been about getting the zombie head, since it holds the power to create a zombie army from scratch and is, therefore, more valuable to the government than any money. Which, let me just say, is a great plan, since we know zombies are totally easy to control and like to follow orders. Big brain energy, right there. Anyway, Scott and the rest waste no time and start to work on another escape from the basement. As Martin makes his way outside, he discovers that Lily, the smarty pants that she is, managed to switch out the head, leaving Martin with nothing. Karma strikes again. And to make things even better, he crosses paths with Valentine, who decides to play a little bit with him, which ends up being fatal for Martin. Oopsie. Meanwhile, Zeus and Grumpy start to have a fist fight down in the basement, and as it turns out, Vanderhoof isn't as strong as he thinks he is, and gets easily overpowered by his opponent. But before Vanderhoof totally succumbs to Zeus, Dieter sacrifices himself to push Vanderhoof into the vault and locks him safely in it. During all that jazz, the three musketeers manage to cut a hole into the wall and make it to the lobby, with zombies following them right on their tail. At some point, they catch up to them and Guzman goes down in a nice money shower before blowing himself and the surrounding zombies up. Leave it to elevator music to brighten up my day. Lily and Scott make it up to Peter's, but Zeus is right on their heels, so now it's up to Lily to sacrifice herself. And she does that by holding the queen's decapitated head at gunpoint. Now, that's a sentence I never thought I'd say out loud, and I think it's clear to say that this won't end well for Lily. Scott and Peters make it to the zombie headquarters and Scott rushes to get his daughter, because they only got like 9 minutes left till the bomb hits. See, that's what happens when you have children. But turns out, Kate actually managed to find her friend alive. However, Zeus seems to be able to teleport, or maybe he was the Flash before becoming a zombie, because he just shows up exactly where Kate and Gita are and cuts off their way of escape. But he isn't the only one with impeccable timing, as Scott bursts through the door right when Zeus bulldozes towards the two women. And suddenly, he has a rocket launcher or whatever you call them. Like, you don't think he could have used that sooner? Whatever. They all get back to the roof, but find no Peters and no helicopter. Turns out she left them. Shortly after the nuke hits, everybody dies. The end. Psych, we're not done yet. Remember, this is a 2-hour movie, so Peters comes back after just taking a little flight around the block and picks them up. But Zeus, predictably, the teleporter that he is, manages to hitch a ride as well. But Scott doesn't want the stinky zombie on the helicopter, so they start to have a little scuffle in which Zeus manages to bite Scott in the shoulder. They make it past the city walls just as the nuke flies towards Las Vegas. Fascinated by the bomb and because it's so pretty, Zeus gets distracted just long enough for Scott to put a bullet in his head. The nuke shockwave causes the helicopter to crash, which only Kate and Scott survive. Well, but Scott is still bitten, so I guess he doesn't really count. Of course, Kate is now forced to finish the job and kills her father before he completely turns. Afterwards, she almost immediately gets rescued by some military guys, and that's the last we see of her. I mean, the luck of that woman. Incredible. Anyways, the movie still keeps going. So we go back to what once was Las Vegas, when Vanderhoof emerges from the ashes and drives to a nearby airport. Thanks to all the money he was able to collect from the vault, he rents a private plane to fly over to Mexico City. However, before landing, he discovers that he has been bitten, and that's where the movie ends. So my conclusion is that basically just everything in the movie was sort of pointless. I mean, they go into the city to get millions of dollars, but get almost none. Kate's friend Gita, which is also her whole motivation to even join the mission in the first place, dies at the end anyways. Everybody dies besides Kate and Vanderhoof for that matter, and the latter manages to undo the nuclear strike in a matter of seconds, just cause he is incapable of looking at his arm. I mean, great going guys, well done. But I guess if you guys have 2 hours you desperately want to waste away, this is just the perfect movie for you.